thanks everyone. And I guess, we are in between, lunch and this, panel discussion. We'll try to make it interesting, right, panelists? Right. And with this eminent, panel members today that I have, I'm sure we're going to give you or, end up giving you a lot of insights and education which you can take it forward. Now, quickly coming to the agenda, the agenda, guys, that have been given to us is, customer experience. Is it the real game changer? Right, we're in the game changer summit, right? CX, this is the real game changer, to sustain a long-term profitability, competitive advantage. And let me straight away get into, asking this to Siva.
Transparent and communicate to them. And depending on the segment of the customer, depending on the type of the product, the way we approach them makes most important presence on the customer experience, and that's where the customer generally sticks to us.
I completely agree with you, Siva, and especially in BFSI, I believe that it has become commoditized, right? Right. So the only differentiator left is that entire experience, right? And as you gave the examples of Uber and all, while these are not BFSI, but those are the real thing. Let me get some views from Akash on this as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I am going to talk more from the perspective of how technology can empower customer experience, right? I believe customer experience is more than a function. It's not really a function. It's an enterprise mindset, right? And customer experience sits at the intersection of product, user experience, brand and communication, innovation, operations, and technology. So it's a strategic growth engine for any enterprise, right? So how can we leverage technology for enhancing customer experience? So if you see customer experience is, it's a thing which is really complex, right? To understand customer preferences, because they keep on changing, like it's an ever evolving landscape, right? Customer experience. To understand the customer mindset, the emotions, their grievances, their dissatisfaction is something where we are trying to build some cognitive processes towards, so that we can understand it at a better manner.
Yeah.
So how you define your CX roadmap with technology? So we have a very brief framework, because banking and financial sector have been in the forefront of adopting such technologies. So since we are also talking to a lot of banks, right? So we usually advise banks and financial services company to look at any technology product from a framework while they are evaluating, right, which they need to integrate with, which goes by ASAIF, where A stands for accountability, basically how reliable, how scalable your product or platform is, right, that you are using for enhancing the customer experience. Then scalability, which is again a subset of accountability, because scalable technology should be scaled across millions of customer interactions.
Yeah.
And then comes your accuracy, right? Because the AI model accuracies.
Yep.
Let's talk about AI, because AI is the enabling technology that we see across banking and finance.
Yep.
So it should be very accurate in recognizing, right? Whether it's from an audio, for any customer interactions, to give that delightful experience. And then comes flexibility, right? So all the systems should be interoperable, the orchestration between different systems, right? So it should be easily deployable on-prem to actually check on the data privacy and data security part of it. So these are some of the checks and balances that an enterprise can use while evaluating a technology stack for enhancing customer experience.
Right. And as you were saying, Akash, on a lighter note, I guess the CX role is becoming much more demanding and difficult, and perhaps should be the highest paid one, right? And taking that thought process forward from a technology standpoint, let me take some views, from Ashish, right? That, how do you really take that technology and embed it with CX to really elevate that entire experience? Any use cases that you can talk
Sure.
about?
See, today, if you look at the customer, while earlier we used to produce for masses, then we started doing classification. Today, I mean, even a person is not a one person. It's not only the individual, it's the individual consumption movement,
Right.
for which a marketer has to be able to create an offering for. Okay. And so customization is to the power of one. And we have to understand that what is experienced today will become expectation tomorrow and deterrent day after. So consumer experience is not something which you can do once and
Right.
remain there and expect. So diminishing value curve, it's in there, the economic diminishing value, whatever we
Right.
want to call it. Okay. In that sense, I think some of the use cases which we have deployed to be able to do so, for I am a lender and I do almost like some 50,000 plus applications a day. That's a kind of a quantum. How do you give a very differentiated experience? So for example, we have created use your system to create nudges for collections.
Okay.
And I keep saying this is a funny part. For the word, we might call it that I am in a business of lending. The reality is I'm in a business of collections. If I can collect without giving money, I would do that. But then I realized that that's not possible, probably, or legal. So we give money out just so that we collect. And hence, understanding that who to give money,
Right.
when to give, what is the use case to be able to give, and then when to collect, and how softly can you go around nudging a person about paying back is itself is the entire consumer journey.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, as you rightly said, you are dealing with the entire financial sector deals with something which is commoditized, which is money and
True.
currency. So, I mean,
No, I
the
agree. I
experience
agree
can
with you.
actually be a differentiator there. The technology has to be used as a core to be able to define that experience.
Right.
And I mean, to each one to its own.
No, I
Is what the
completely
technology plays.
agree with you. And the point that you mentioned that you are in a business of collecting, I kind of completely resonate to that, because if you make it simple and technology can help you make it simple and convenient, people who don't want to default, by the nature of being a defaulter, it becomes much more convenient for them to actually pay back, very very seamlessly.
Yeah. So, for example, earlier the payment channel was that you have to go to a POS or you have to go
Correct.
to website XYZ. Today, it's a individualized QR code.
Absolutely.
Nothing path breaking. And one thing which I have realized in experience is that a lot of times marketers and business leaders, we want to do things which are path breaking. Whereas in BFSI, my little experience, whatever little it is like do the basics.
True.
Path breaking is doing everything basics right. If you can create the right basic stack, it itself becomes a path breaking. Rather than
Completely
going
agree.
to, I mean, you can have the latest technology, the best of the tech playing around, but if it is only in one genre, if it is only at one touch point, it's not gonna give consumer the real experience
Yeah.
he or she might. How frictionless can you make?
True.
Ask yourself, what's your, and today we are talking about consumer experience. As our organization, we have started something called as consumer effort score,
Right.
which is nothing but about taking about what is the cognitive, what is the muscular effort a consumer has to put while defining. Because of, I mean, it's very easy to marketers now. Ask 2 more fields.
True.
Oh, add 2 more check boxes. Just put those colors. Oh, my logo is not coming. I need to have a better graphic around it.
Yeah.
Is it adding a cognitive load? So I think all these points, if you do basics right, make it easy for consumer, and get your leaders to do that. Ask the best way to do consumer experience, and trust you me, has always worked for me. If you find any challenges, get your top leadership to do the journey, and don't help them. Throw them in the mud, and believe you me, you will have the best possible support coming. Your tech and everything fails just right
No,
there.
absolutely. And since you talked about walk the talk, right? We have one gentleman, Mr. Sriram, who has really displayed that, that walking the talk, and you've done extensively on this particular, aspect. So why don't you share your experience?
Sure. See, in my mind, I think customer experience, as my panelists have pointed out, is much more just than the look and feel.
Correct.
So I am very privileged and honored to be able to serve at Ujjivan Small Finance Bank, where we are actually serving the unserved and the underserved of the nation.
Yeah.
And my job is to serve them digitally. So I think I want to take the example of how we can do customer experience to serve these people. So, and I want to give you a few examples. So one is we've recently launched an app called Hello Ujivan, which targets these people who are semi-literate. They are not very comfortable. So we actually, my colleagues in the bank have gone, we have studied our customers. We have understood how they relate to things, and in fact, we found out that the best way to serve these customers is not through fancy graphics and through apps which are I would use the word sophisticated, but more around it has simple graphics, it has simple almost like visuals, it has videos, it has most importantly voice, because they are not comfortable with typing, so they can just speak. And our earlier panelists spoke about AI and ML. So actually, my colleagues in Ujivan have gone and we have built voice recognition algorithms in 8 or 9 vernacular languages with various local variations and dialects. And there is recognition built in, there is speech guidance. So all this coming together basically makes the experience of these customers better. So This is an example of how customer experience has been tuned to particular customers' problems, and it helps them.
True.
And this also helps the business, because these are customers who then don't need to be served through a human being. That increases the productivity of the bank overall. It also helps us because we are already seeing a lot of collections coming through this app. And this will also help us to grow in the future.
No, I completely agree. And I'll pick, and I'll convert that into 3 V's, right? You talked about these 3 V's is the voice, the video, and make it vernacular, right? I guess that's the game changer. The other piece I'm going to pick, you talked about this app, right? And the way I look at app, it's basically the engagement, right? And you do engagement to get that loyalty, right? And with that thought, let me move to, Samir, and ask that, we talk about customer experience, we talk about technology and all those buzzwords, right? But at the end of the day, it is the customer loyalty, right? You onboard a customer, it's actually much more difficult to retain that customer, right? So how do you see that entire experience piece, the customer experience piece, is the main driver when you look at the real loyalty?
Thanks, Ankit. So I think we are in a completely different segment compared to what my fellow colleagues said right now. We are in the business of financing students for their educational aspirations.
Right.
So their technology adoption is not a challenge.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we have a different kind of challenge. And that's where I think experience plays a very major role, because they demand more, because they are digitally native customers who come onto you. They expect everything out of you digitally. And just to give an example, I was talking to somebody. We operate out of 400 locations in India. Actually, students come from 400 locations. We just have 17 branches.
Right.
And this is where I think we leverage technology big time. And I think the crux to this is just basics, as you rightly called out. Look at your backward and look at your forward. Now, where from the student comes, and that's where we get into the student ecosystem. It's not about financing. We need to first understand where the financing decision starts. And I think that's where we start our journey and we move backward. One analogy I want to drive, we realize if you have to really fund the student, you have to get away from parents' income.
Yep.
Okay. So the way we underwrite, we don't have bureaus, because when you underwrite a student, there's nothing in a bureau for a student. So that was the challenge before us. Today, as I can say, our products are predominantly student-centric.
True.
So if I get a student onto my platform, I've not yet gone to the AI mode. We're getting into the AI mode. I'm able to clone a student and say, hey, this student, I can give an unsecured loan of 70 lakhs without fail. And I just have to ensure the parents are there in some part of the country,
right,
and they're stable. That's it. And that's the need analysis we do in the backward. The other piece is forward. When you move forward, what if he takes a loan? What are his needs?
Yeah.
As basic as he needs to get his forex done, as basic as he needs a bank account in US. And I think these are some of the things we are enabling through technology.
Right.
And the crux to it is, if you are able to deliver an end-to-end experience for a premium, but the experience is end-to-end and proposition-led. It's not that you just sell up any product. Just to give an example, we rolled out an insurance product which only protects the student for 2 years, because we need to ensure the student completes his study. So we came out with a bundled insurance product which this parent needs to take it for 2 years.
Right.
Okay. And that's that has got 100% penetration, because every parent would feel that this is something I need to take for my parent, for my student, for my child. So I think basically, if you say experience starts with what kind of need gap analysis you do, and after having got the student onto your platform, I think one basic thing is you need to first start listening to your customers or students, and that's where I think listening can be done in two ways. One is you have real-time feedback you started doing for last 2 years. We listen to our customers. In lending, the biggest point that comes out is transparency and the way you deal with the customer. And I'm telling you, and someone
No, I understand. And the point that you made about, you are into the lending business for the students, right? Now, that's the stated need, for the student that, okay, I need to get my loan faster, it should be transparent and all those stuff. But the point that you made about the unstated need, if I can call that as an unstated need, that, for example, the Forex.
absolutely.
Now, the student is not expecting you to, help him, to get Forex. But if you're able to do that, perhaps that is creating that loyalty.
Absolutely.
Right,
And that-
in the minds of the student that, hey, here is this company who's not only looking at my stated need, right, because that is what, I'm paying it for, but also taking care of my unstated needs, right?
And the other point that I want to tell is you to listen to customers through data and what they speak actually.
Absolutely.
And that's where our NPS journey started. And one thing that came out very clearly, customers are not price sensitive. The customers who gives you a score which is as bad as 0 is only when you have dealt with them as far as transparency
Correct.
and experience is concerned. And we've learned our lessons. And what we are trying to do is we're trying to attack that transparency score with the customer every month on month. And that's the parameter from a customer perspective we started measuring in addition to the many financial KPIs that we have. So basics, stick to your basics, as you rightly called out. Go back, go forward, and see what are the needs that the customer, and fulfill it end to end, leveraging technology.
And
And the
since you talked
problem-
about, I'll just cut there. Since you talked about NPS, and this loyalty actually started from, we started this discussion, the point that Sriram made. I'm going to actually come back to Sriram, right, and ask you this, that, a friend here talked about NPS, right? What are those right matrices that you need to put in place to measure the loyalty framework success? So what's your take on that?
I think the industry standard certainly is NPS, but I try to come up with something called a 3 dimensions, and I'm speaking specifically about digital.
Right.
So I call this the 3 dimensions of digital. The first is enablement, which is what that essentially means is you should be able to do something digitally through your app or through your internet banking or wherever.
Yeah.
Be it a payment, be it a transfer, be it collection, opening an account, closing an account, whatever it is, you should be able to do it digitally. So I can measure this across various products, across various customer segments, across geographies, whatever. I can put a score to it. The second one after enablement becomes engagement, which is just because something is available,
Right.
customer may or may not actually use it.
Absolutely.
So we need to go and drive engagement by telling customers about it, fixing issues in the user experience, and making sure that customers actually use whatever we are putting out there. So that's the second E. That I call that as engagement.
Right.
And then comes the NPS portion, which is experience. So I call these the 3 E's or the triple E framework for measuring digital, which is around enablement, it's around engagement, and then followed by experience, where I measure the NPS of people around it. The beauty of this framework is that I can now measure it at a customer level, or I can measure it at a portfolio level, or I can slice and dice it. It's a good analytic framework for us to see, and this is something where
I'm definitely going to take that as my personal learning. This 3 E's. Actually it makes it very simple if you really, club all these 3 and say, yeah, it actually makes sense. It gives you that, real end-to-end perspective. And when we are talking about this end-to-end, I mean, we talk about a lot of technology, we talk about customer experience. The other word which is there associated with customer experience, in other words, is the multi-omni-channel experience, right? We all hear it, right? I'm just going to add one more word to this, and I'm going to call it the true multi-omni-channel. Okay, and I'm going to take views from Vishwanath that in your business, India Post, right, such a large distribution network, right? How do you see the various challenges? And of course, when there are challenges, there are opportunities to improve it in your business because it's so huge. How do you really tackle this true multi-omni-channel experience?
Yeah, thank you for the question. This is something which is evolving for us as well. And as we are in the Game Changer Summit, our honorable Prime Minister had the vision of becoming the game changer in terms of bringing the financial services to the doorstep of every single family in the country. And that's where the birth of an organization like IPPB happened. And in terms of customer experience, that has been the first thing to start the journey from, because we wanted to reach to the doorstep, and for that, yes, technology is important. uh, but omni-channel experience was very much required. Now what we had the leverage of was the trust and the network of post offices and the very hardworking postmen and the Gramin Dak Sevak, which were readily there, but we had to upgrade them, upskill them, make them a banker at par, give them the kind of technical know-how, device, everything.
Right.
And it today has transformed the entire landscape. If you go and see, we don't have much of a visibility on the media as an advertisement and stuff, but if you really go to the tier 3 and below,
Right.
you can feel the difference.
Absolutely.
We have covered almost 6.5 6.75 crore customers in less than 5 years.
Wow.
And that is organic. Not the Department of Post customers have switched over the fence has come to us, but it has been a purely organic growth. And this has been only possible because the customer were given the understanding that, because what is happening in the market today is the economy has turned out to be such that the youth have been coming out of the villages.
Correct.
And being the older generations, and the females and the kids are left in those smaller markets. A lot of people are dependent on those money transfers and somebody to deliver
True.
them cash at the doorstep, because even if you transfer the money, they can't fetch out the money. So that has become a lot of dependency for people, and has got the interest in us to come and join our bank. And beyond that, as a kind of a omni-channel, if you see experience, we are now digitally available on self-service, on WhatsApp, on you can have the postman, you can have go to the website, request for it. There is a post info app for the department post where you can make a request. There will be kind of a tat assigned to the
True.
last mile guy who will deliver the services to you. So we are trying to cover as much of a touch point that we can do, and that's where we are making some cuts.
Thanks for that. And I know, Siva, you have worked extensively on this particular true omni multi-channel experience. So what's your views on that?
So coming for the challenges, I have question. I think it's not you guys ask the question and you'll get the points. We can also ask you some questions and we will also get some points. So a question to you guys: if digital and technology gets married, okay, digital and telecom gets married,
Telecom.
who are the children?
Oh, interesting one. So digital and telecom getting married, they're going to produce what? Anyone want to give it a shot from the audience? So one answer came is customer experience.
That is only digital's baby.
We have the answer that digital and technology married,
Telecom.
then digital agency is there. So when you are making the digital and telecom, then the mobile is the answer. And you are bringing the person.
Mobile is the medium, so I'll put down the answer. I think there are two kids, one son which is voice, one daughter which is ChatGPT. I'll just explain it why it is also. See, voice has become so much crucial now, where we started from the telecom, but we are using in the digital layer for the communications. Even for our gold loan business, we have done the voice bots, voice blasts for the communication. While we have segmented the regular set of customers, and the elder customers are reached via branches, the younger customers who have come to the branch model has been reached via voice blast. People who have taken doorstep gold loan via app, they have reached via app notifications. So the right channel to the right person also plays an important key. That's where I came for the voice. And second one, when I mentioned about chat bots or chat GPT as such, I'd have this fantastic analogy of ChatGPT. I'm sure most of you have tried it, ChatGPT, all by yourself. But if you actually put it and ask a question to ChatGPT, starting from an complicated emotional question to structural financial advice, it's going to give you back. So it just, if it has an avatar, I feel it will get a lot of roses on the Valentine's Day. So the ChatGPT now coming to the challenging point of it, for the voice and chatbot in the mode of communication, because people's persona is involved, their linguistics, their lingo is involved for voice, and their emotions needs to be captured. So the the way you collect these data back, that's not going to be easily stored, or it will be connected to the other layers of communication. The challenging thing which I see in the omni-channel communication is data engineering part of it. How do you set up the data is in silos, or you are unable to make the better uses of the data? That's the challenging part of it, which I see. Whereas with the same thing, the opportunities I have given an illustrated example. There will be a fantastic opportunity to reach to the people with a lower cost in the segment they need, giving the customer customer happiness, customer centricity at an highest level, as well as we will be able to do the upsell or cross sell.
Right. So thanks, and let me come to Akash. On this, what's your view purely from a technology standpoint? How do you really solve this big issue?
So I believe that timely implementation matters. So
Okay.
discovery and evaluation is just one part of it. And then how timely you implement, how you reap the benefits out of any of your CX initiatives, that really matters, right? Because we all know on 30th November 2022, when ChatGPT, like it made the buzzword, and then people thought that the omni-channel communication strategy is going to transform, right? Now, when it comes to enterprise AI, as my co-panelist was mentioning about debt collection reminders, right?
Right.
When it comes to debt collection or renewals, these are all very persistent processes, right?
Right.
Very persistent processes, but objective oriented as well, because you have to accomplish the task of recovering the money, but at the same time, prevent erosion and decay of customer experience.
Correct.
So, for such critical processes, I think timely implementation and transparency are the keys. So, transparency when it comes to setting up mutual expectations when you are onboarding or implementing a technology,
Right.
mutual expectations, requirements, urgency, key deliverables, timeline, then success metric of the initiative,
Right.
the different KPIs, the operational metrics, to evaluate and set a check and balance across all these metrics will be really helpful. So, what is suggested and what is the future going to be like is co-pilot. So, it's not essentially that you raise awareness, consider, evaluate, and then onboard, but rather you conceptualize, ideate, then you brainstorm, champion, make it your own, and then win.
No, absolutely agree. And you talked about that collections. No, I can visualize. A telecaller calling somebody for a collection payment, right? And as a brand, let's say you have enabled 100 ways to pay payment, right? And if that telecaller does not have access to check that whether the payment has been made on a real-time basis, and let's say the customer has already made the payment, it's a really bad experience.
It's a bad
Right?
experience. Yes.
So that you have a multi-channel because you have created so many, multi-channels to collect the payment, but you're not integrated to get that real, true omni-channel. Obviously, it's a hindrance.
Yeah.
No, let me just, flip it and come to brand, and we really talk about when it's a game changer summit. And innovation, you can correlate with game changers, right? You innovate and you become the game changer. As a brand entity, right? Your real sense that you want to showcase to the customers. How innovation, plays a crucial role in that. And I would want to ask this question first to Ashish. That how do you really take that? Is it really important?
See, as I said earlier, consumers, what is experienced today will become expectations tomorrow, and deterrence day after, resonance day after.
Very well
And
said.
I think brands also have a life cycle there.
Right.
You cannot, very far and few, your core ethos can remain same, but you have to have different and latent narratives getting married, getting projected on that core ethos to
Right.
be able to remain relatable. Try and understand, we are living in an era today where we are typically serving to 4+1 generation, 4 human and 1 digital generation. You not only create narratives for people, you also create narratives, today for the system, because of how your systems are going to look at. Gone are the days that brands can just, as a marketer, It's a funny thing. While I'm called a CMO, I actually call myself CIO. And here I does not stand for any intelligence or inputs. It's a chief inefficiency officer.
Wow.
Because of my critical job, 80% of my job is to manage inefficiencies in the organization.
Very well
If
said, actually.
a tech guy fails to implement something, the website does not work, my KPIs are going to get hit. I am running a campaign, something will not work. I am going to get impacted. While
We are living in a real world.
precisely, and hence marketers need to become that. The
Absolutely.
reason why I'm pulling this narrative out here is because of, as a marketer, what you do, how you control these inefficiencies are your brand is an outcome of it.
True.
Innovation, when you look at, is about nothing but being able to figure out the unsaid needs of our consumers and delivering them before somebody else does. Yesterday we were listening to somebody. Today, when consumer is looking at, and this is something which has happened after digital, what it does is it has opened the can for anybody to have world-class experiences. I mean, I used to work for a telecom operator and we had a data pack, and that data pack was getting consumed in a very, very small village. Out of curiosity, we landed up there to figure out what is it getting used for. It was 5 rupees data pack for a day. These are like 2012-13 types. Data was still costly. And kids were picking it up for YouTube. And to watch, not YouTube, it was YouTube to watch videos of Ferrari. So it's not that they have to be in a metro today. The reason of that is that people have got exposed to the world-class services and communications and products. You can no longer say, I am an insurance or I am a credit company, and hence you have XYZ process.
Yeah.
The new wave of consumers are getting onboarded by Amazons and YouTubes of the world, whereas every click matters. And there, I think, as a brand, you need to start thinking about 360-degree, not only about your product,
Yeah.
but keeping consumers at the center about his said needs, about your brand, how it makes him or her feel to himself, not to himself in his real world, but also in the digital world. And you need to create your brand narrative for digital world. And I think innovation does play a role out there to be able to succeed, to be able to be on time in keeping complexity at the back end and relatability at the front end. I think if you don't have these, your brand is going to get challenged
Absolutely.
at some
Thanks.
point in time.
And with that, let me move to Samir. The same question, being in your business, dealing with students, how innovation plays a crucial role.
Absolutely. I think it all starts with what are the unmet needs of the student. And I did call it out. I mean, starts with the kind of product you want to give it to them. And I did call out some minutes back that how did we flip the entire underwriting process? We moved away from a parent-based underwriting to a student-based underwriting. And we had to do a lot of changes because we had to then start consuming alternate data. And this alternate data starts coming from which geography in US, in which university, which geography leads into what kind of competencies, which competency gives what kind of returns at the age of 40. And these are some of the backward working we need to do with alternate data. Similarly, when we devised our product, we said, this is how it's going to work on the ground. We're going to make it as simple as possible. Ask the student to enter 5-6 data points. I should be in a position to recommend a product to him, which is seamless. So I think that's the next phase to it. And the third phase to this entire piece is, see, when we're lending to a student, it's important for us to be in touch with the student till the time he gets out or completes his education. And that's where the entire engagement exercise happens.
Absolutely.
We have another challenge. When a student is in US, is in a different time zone. So calling will not work.
Yeah.
Calling is expensive as well. So we started developing interactive bots now. So we got into a strategy of having a innovative bot strategy wherein, and that's where we're making it contextual. If he's coming to me for a statement of account, I'll ask him, hey, you've not submitted your transcript for second semester. Why not you submit it? You've not submitted a visa copy. Why not submit it? Because these are some of the mandatory pieces we need to have when we underwrite a student. And I think this is where we're trying to make the bot strategy work to a large extent as far as we are concerned to engage effectively with the customers, because calling will not help. And bot nowadays, students have started accepting it. It's non-intrusive. They can respond to us. We can consume the information. You don't need a human interface behind. And slowly what we have started doing is we started using evolving technologies like AML. We are in the nascent stage. I'll not call it a win, but we're trying to explore some of the use cases and see how it works and then ramp it up.
Right.
The last thing I would want to say is in any organization, if you have to do all of this, you have to get your structure right.
Correct.
The biggest thing that we have done, and let me call out myself, I was in the role of running business. I was doing underwriting, collections, operations, and I said, why not to switch the role? You have heard of it, you understood the challenges, why not to flip the roles? And what we've done is we've combined process, customer experience, data, and technology together.
Wow.
Because you can't have applications getting rolled out and data remaining behind, and you don't know what to report. And I think that's one of the key things in my mind organizations should do.
Right.
Because then only you can deliver an end-to-end customer experience for the end user.
No, I agree with you, and we're running short of time, but I really want to ask this to Vishwanath, right? India Post Payments Bank and innovation. Do you really think that your customers are wanting you to be associated with innovation?
See, there are certain things which are felt, certain things which are latent, which we need to realize. So what we realize that many a times they may not be able to articulate their needs too well.
Right.
But then you have to scratch the surface and go below that and to understand how to deliver that need, because once fulfilled, they will come back and thank you, saying that boss, I never said to that, but that you understood it.
True.
And that's the best part of it. And that's where we need to start, becoming more like an emotionally intelligent communicator in terms of both outward as well as inward. What they say and what we say. We are slowly now getting into multiple products so that we are able to, like, for example, who has no credit background, so how can we have those?
Right.
Even not cash flow transaction, it is only transaction. It is only payments based transactions. Small 10 rupees, 20 rupees transactions. Can that create a kind of a engine in itself which can give us a kind of output for the credit companies to give us a credit?
Yeah.
Likewise, multiple things are there. And our ambit of innovation is little bigger. As I said to you, we are expected to become a universal service provider in terms of financial services by the government. And we have to serve both bank customer and non-bank customer. So we have to think about innovations in a very, very large ambit and understand how we can take it forward and serve them pretty well in time and as well as per the expectation.
Right.
Our another innovation part is we do also have those new age, aspirations of collaborating with the fintechs. We do have a program called Finclovation where we bring in a lot of people to co-create solutions,
Right.
to take it forward to solve the challenges of financial inclusion in this country. So those are the things that we really work on.
Absolutely. And thanks for sharing that. And with that, let me just quickly try and summarize. Guys, we discussed, CX obviously is important. It is tough, difficult, but that's the only differentiator, right? Which is left, because most of it has become commoditized, right? Technology obviously plays a crucial role, right? But choosing the right technology, which is use case less, again becomes the critical part. You can't just pick a technology and deploy it, right? We talked about loyalty, we talked about the brand entity, we talked about the innovation. I feel that, we should look at digitizing the physical, but humanizing the digital. I guess that's the critical piece. There is no end-to-end automation, and you need to have that human, element into it. And let me just wrap it up by giving a very personal example, guys. Siva knows about it, he heard about it. Recently, I was traveling, back to India. I'll not name the airline. Okay, the flight got delayed. Okay? And, obviously I was waiting for, the announcement that, okay, now you can board the flight. And all of a sudden, one of the crew member came and he offered me a drink. And he said that, Mr. Goenka, we are really sorry for this delay. But what we understand is that you really like this particular drink because this is the one that you usually order while you're on board. So why don't you enjoy that drink? Meanwhile, we make the arrangements to onboard you very quickly. I guess that was the real aha moment for me, at least, right? And when I really analyze this entire customer experience part of it, I guess somebody did the right input, not technology, but the basic input of entering that Ankit Goenka loves this particular drink. Then somebody from a tech side, did put that at the right place to perhaps create a trigger, and somebody again made a process out of it that in case, there is a flight delay, this is what you need to do. But that's not the end. To get that output running, somebody did ensure that physical delivery, because there is no digital about it. Digital has happened now, right? The physical delivery of that drink, the logistics of that are made available. And then finally, a human delivering it, right? So I guess this was a very apt example for me when I look at customer experience, right? I'm not going to remember that airline for that flight delay. I do remember flight delays of those airlines who would come and say, sir, ye dabba lijiye. Right? Has it happened to you guys? There is a flight delay, right? And the airline people come and say, sir, sorry, ye dabba le lijiye, snack khali usme, something would be there which you usually don't want to eat, right? So you remember that airline for the delay, not for the good experience of that dabba. But I remember this airline for that real experience, that aha moment, right? So with that, thank you, my panelists, for giving such great insights. With that, can we, yes, please.
Hi, I'm Ravi. So my question is that we talked about customer sensitivity and experience, but the people coming from the human aspect, which is we did not talk about employee experience. Same which I go ahead and say that Vishwanath is that India Post. Your biggest asset is that postman which delivers that.
Absolutely.
So how do you create that employee experience so it actually closes the whole loop? Is that case? Is that case?
No, I agree. Employee experience is equal to customer experience at the end of the day. Because if your employee is not happy, the experience of that employee is not great, he or she will not be able to deliver the right experience to the customer.
Yeah, that's right. So
Any thoughts from any one of you?
Yeah, so basic thing is that when that person who was delivering the drink to you, okay, was not happy, that happiness or the smile wouldn't have transferred. Same with the postal guy. If he does not understand, and it is not easy for the postman to go ahead and understand all the products which is new to him or whatever it is. And he's the trust, he's the final say to the customer because he's delivering everything. So how do you enable that training, that understanding and ease of access and the experience which they are doing, because they are the consumers of that digital channel which you have provided. So I would like to understand that aspect of it.
Yeah, so a very good question, and it has been one of the biggest action area for us. We have spent more than 1 crore man hour to train more than 3 lakh people on the ground, and there was a complete structure right from the training centers of Department of Post to at the various levels of the entire administration. We have engaged with more than 1 lakh people to deliver this entire capacity building program, along with upgrading them in terms of technology, product, and as well as from the behavioral part, that how he is going to now deal with the objections or the queries which a common customer will ask him or her, because he or she was not the last mile financial service delivery guy till so far. What was happening with the Department of Post was mostly happening in the sub post offices, where people were coming and buying those NSCs and KVPs, and those were mostly been done by the postal agents, not by the postman directly. So these were the guys who were knowing about the finance services of the DOP, which was like an agency of the government of India from the Ministry of Finance. But today he is an RBI regulated entity guy. He is actually a representation of that bank, and he has to handle everything, right from transaction to biometric to objection to failures to so many issues. So he was he had upped the game. We helped them up the game accordingly. So thank you for the question.
No, I guess the real thing which Vishwanath talked about is the intent of the organization, right? Do you really want to help? right? Because you give an example, call centers, right? In the pyramid, the lowest, in the pyramid, they get the lowest salaries.
Yeah.
Right?
Very basic.
But really, are you empowering them? Are you investing in them? Because we want those call center guys to deliver the best of the experience. We want them to remember each of the products, each of the services, each of the processes, right? But we really don't want to help them, right? So I guess it's the intent. The answer is the intent.
Yeah, and the technology can be a very important part of it because access, see, if they want to do that, so there is one, the behavioral side of
The
it,
most
where you empower it, and the technology goes ahead, gives you the access and the information to go ahead and give it to the customer.
Yes, absolutely. And apart from that, for that strata of people, as we know the Maslow's theory, the social status of that person, being a banker in the village or vicinity wherever he's serving, has become one of the most important factors for them to get motivated to deliver the products. And it has worked very, very well so far.
Yep.
Right, thank you.
Complementing the postal services, the postman's directly recruited by the Indian Postal Service, the postman. The salary that they are getting is at something around 50,000 plus. And the postmen are most of them, whatever they are recruiting recently, directly by the government. Okay, they're all MBAs and all top high with very highly qualified persons and all.
Yeah, so there are some postmen, delivery postmen, and then there are Gramin Dak Sevaks who are actually, servicing through the 80% of the post offices which are rural in nature in the country like India. So these are people who are not kind of, very, very highly paid in those terms compared to their urban counterparts or the tier 2 counterparts. These are the guys who are given salaries in the range of around 15K, and then they have a lot of, incentives of working around on the products and the services that they deliver. So it's sustainable, it's respectful, but again, their need is served also from the one fact that he is the one man where the entire village or 5-6 villages depend on him for the services, which makes him very, very important and prominent in that location.
So thank you, panelists.
I am Prabhat.
If we can take the last question because we're running late for the lunch.
Sure. So I have a question related to customer experience. Do you think this is for all? Do you think now it's time for all brands to have a customer experience head or maybe a chief customer experience? My second question is related to this only and to whom it should report, right? Because what I feel that customer experience is all about perception or a feeling one person creates after interacting with the brand, whether it's a pre-purchase or post-purchase, right? The entire life cycle. Now, every organization works in a silos. I was listening, somebody is developing a chatbot, somebody is WhatsApp, somebody is doing a collection calls, and each product is different applications, not talking to each other. So one person should have a complete responsibility and who all should report to him.
I think just very, very quick response to it. Customer experience, the organization which makes one person's job is making it ready to fail. Customer experience is not owned by any department or a person. There could be anchor, but customer experience has to be owned by the entire organization. If any organization where you don't find a CX score from the CEO's KPI to the last mile KPI, they are not serious about it.
Yeah.
They can do all lip service. It won't happen. The second question, where should he report, he or she report, where the department should be, depends on the kind of a business model you are into. If you are into a services business where your differentiator is brand differentiator, typically customer experience reports into marketing. If the differentiator is your process differentiator, customer experience goes and sits in operations. If the differentiator is into products differentiator or something like that, then it goes into production. So depends on for different organization, it's different. Having said that, it has to become an organizational KPI. One person or one department can create and foster the journey, can be the accelerator, but can't be the owner. Don't ever kind of confuse between accelerator and the owners. The onus of customer experience lies to every individual, every touch point owner in the department, in the organization.
And with that, let me end this particular panel.